Green Arrow, issue 5, Legacy 338. Joshua Williamson writing with Sean Isaacs on art. This is the one I didn't read because I left it to last, and when I was reading the book I was reading before this, I was like I was actually dozing off, and I had to reread like several pages just to because it's just because I just wasn't awake enough. Yeah. So I looked at my last book and it was Green Arrow, and I went, you know what? I'm calling it here. I've done enough.
You know, that's not unfair. I've done that before. So I unfortunately did read this because Pete didn't let me know. And I shouldn't say unfortunately. I feel like we've used this as a an easy to beat up on book because we're not really enjoying what Williamson's doing. And this book has really been all over the place. But this one has art by 3 different artists.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's broken up. So we got Sean Isaacs, is that how we're saying that? And Phil Hester, and, well, 2. So it's Phil Hester and Andy Parks. But the Isaacs art here isn't as clean and crisp as it has been. There's a bit more sketch to it. So I don't know if this was rushed or,
I mean, having 2 extra artists put on it definitely implies that they realized, oh shit, yes, this won't be ready in time.
There's that, but the Phil Hester stuff, there's a story reason for that, and I'll get to there because that comes up at the end. So it kicks off at Legion headquarters with Brainiac reminding Connor and Shoes / what was her name? Leon, that time travel is illegal, but Connor's like, it's my risk to take. I'm going to go and find my dad. So if you remember how the last issue ended, it was like a Mad Max kind of world with Ollie, right? Kind of old man Ollie going on. He picks up our recent time Ollie as they're being chased by these what look like leftover Ninja Turtle villains, right? They're like these, I guess lizards and alligators. It looks like reptile kind of creatures on dirt bikes chasing them in what looks like the old Aeromobile. And they're running out of road, but old man Ollie hits a button, and it ends up this old car ends up becoming like a hovercraft kind of jet. And he tells younger Ollie that you should have figured this out a while ago. Arrows do fly, so they look in the rearview mirror. They still have these mutants coming after him. Ollie uses one of his boxing glove arrows, to which old man is like, oh man, I remember when I used to be soft. And Ollie mentions that he can see it in his eyes and just his whole demeanor that this is a version that's been through hell. So they end up in the Arrow Cave, and it very much looks like the Bat Cave. And the old man tells him to take it easy. And Ollie is like, so me losing my family sends me into this place. It can't be good. It cuts over to Cheshire and Roy, and they're yelling at each other over Leon. And that Cheshire says that she knew, right? Because she works for Waller. But she always held Roy responsible for the death of her daughter. And so she doesn't understand how she got older or where she came back from. But she was like, in our line of work, I don't ask too many questions. But I couldn't get close to her because I didn't want to, lose her again. To which Roy is like, well, wait, but you knew about her, but you didn't tell me. As they're squabbling, Canary whistles to, bring him in. But before Cheshire leaves, she says, whatever you do, don't go digging at Waller. So it cuts back to Wally in his Mad Max world, and all over this cave, there's like relics to his past, right? There's a picture of him holding Connor. There's his certificate to the Justice League. There's a picture of him with the Justice League with an arrow in himself, like someone has shot at it. There's Roy's bow. There's pictures of him and Roy that are broken. And last but not least, there's again, it's a complete ripoff of the Bat Cave. There's these glass cases with all of his family's costumes in it. And in the front is Canary's. And older Wally's like, yeah, look, I'm telling you this to save you from becoming me. You cannot go see your family. Like, they are the reason this timeline happens. of course, Ollie pushes back at it, and he tells him, he's like, well, look, the truth is, no matter how many times you resisted it, you were never meant to leave the island, right? You were meant to stay there and be miserable. You coming back into these people's life is what sends them back. So, just stay here, and we'll prevent this from ever happening. And older Wally says, come here, I found this wreckage, though. We can change things. And it's a time machine. And he tells our Ollie that he's the one that made the deal with Parallax and Amanda Waller to allow this all to happen, because he's going to go back in time and change things. So Ollie never becomes the Green Arrow that we know, because he can't be with his family ever again. As he tells him that, like, we're going to go put you back and you're not going to be with the family, old Ollie gets hit with an arrow to the eye. And Ollie goes, man, you know what? Here's the funny thing about that island, right? Everyone builds it up as this trauma for me, but anytime I needed quiet, I would go back there. I just wouldn't tell anybody. So clearly you're not me. Who are you? And then this is where old Ollie, his eyes light up like a Terminator, right? And the arrow that's sticking out is showing like cables and stuff instead of blood and all that type of head trauma stuff. And he goes, well, whatever you are, right? If you're a hologram or robot, I figured this out. None of this is real. And the old Ollie says, some of it is, the best lies always have truth in them. Why can't you just play along? So Ollie and this guy fight back and forth, but the old Ollie ends up throwing our Ollie into the time machine, and then it shatters, which leads him into Phil Hester art, which then Ollie's like, oh, I recognize this time. It almost gets a little bit meta. This is from when I came back from the dead. So this is, the era that Kevin Smith was writing on Green Arrow. And an arrow gets shot. Ollie from this time comes down. He recognizes him from this era because of the costume that he's wearing. Asks if he's a robot. And if it's not him, what about these ones? And it's all Ollies from different eras, right? So you have like the Longbow Hunter. You have traditional, I guess, Silver Age Green Arrow, right? That looks like Robin Hood. You have the hooded cowl version. And they're all coming after our Ollie. And in order to prove, try to figure out what they are, Ollie fires an arrow and, it goes through and they're normal. So him and the Phil Hester era end up deciding to team up. They fight off some of these arrows. But the Phil Hester era, he's got the white feather in his cap, ends up shooting our Ollie with this kind of like glowing arrow, and then pushes him off of the building and says, you're not going anywhere, to where, it says to be continued, dead again. So it makes a lot more sense than some of the other. We're starting to get towards the end where things are coming together. So whoever is behind this era of Ollie separating the family, it's all done with the intent of making Ollie miserable. So it tells me it's somebody that's close to him. And that
somehow it's Merlin. I'll just guess.
Right. Or Shadow.
Merlin.
Right. But it's someone with enough that was able to mess with the timelines and alter things and, act as Ollie to make these deals with Parallax and Amanda Waller, in order to make this reality that never existed. To which point, I don't know. Is it just to make Ollie miserable? Because what does Shoes have to do with that? Like, why has she been shifted out of time, and aged, beyond that? What does this have to do with Canary and all of that type of stuff? So, not a terrible issue, but not a great one. The Phil Hester art really kicks in, but I'm a fan of that style, right? It's got the heavy line work, very, very chunky and pulpy in the style. So we got to that from the Isaacs art that was not bad, but definitely rougher than it has been. But yeah, I'll give this a 6.5.